Welcome to the cooking show. We're glad you're here. My name is John Lee, and today we're cooking Mexican food. So this will be like a quick and easy Mexican meal for you, and we'll just kind of follow along. And what we have to do first when we cook, what I usually do is I try to figure out which is going to come up first or which takes the longest. And I think one of the things about meal planning that's very important is to be able to time your meal so that it all comes out hot at the same time and ready at the same time. So the first thing we need to cook is our Spanish rice. We're going to have enchiladas, we're going to have cheese enchiladas, we're going to have Spanish rice, and we're going to make some refries from scratch. And you can see it looks like I've already gotten started. I have a few things warming up for us to make things go a little bit easier today. But we'll start with the rice because we know that that takes about 20 minutes. I've already started heating up the water a little bit. We're going to do this in accordance with the directions on the Uncle Ben's package, and I'm using Uncle Ben's. But what I'm going to do is measure my water, and I need about 3 1/3 cup of water. And that's about what I have. But I need to take into consideration, since I'm going to be adding some things to my rice, for instance, some diced tomatoes, I'm actually going to just put some of that juice into the water because I need to let some of that juice account for some of the water that I'm using. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of this good tomato juice in there. These are peeled, diced tomatoes. And we're just going to add that to our water. I probably should have started with less water and let this juice add up to it. But we'll go ahead and do it this way. Then I'll have to waste a little bit. And I see I got a little paper from my can in there. Boy, I hate that. All right, I'm actually going to empty out just a little bit of this water and make it work out to 3 1/3. Like I said, had I done this the way I should have, I probably should have started with less water. Let's go ahead and boil this water. And while we're boiling it, now that is not only water, but that is a little bit of the tomato juice from the diced tomatoes. Let's add some things to it. Let's add some green pepper to it. I've taken some green pepper and I used a little chopper and I've chopped it up pretty fine. And I would say you're going to add at least 5 tablespoons of chopped green pepper. I'm going to leave a little of that in there because that might mix together with my other things for later. I'm also going to put some chopped jalapeno. Now you can use whatever kind of pepper you find. That's the fun about cooking to me, and I think that's what you're going to find about this show that's going to be fun, is we're not going to be too rigid on ingredients. I'm using about 2 tablespoons of green pepper. We're just going to have some fun with it. Throw in some things that you like. In addition to our green peppers and our tomatoes that we're going to throw in there, in fact, we can do those right now, and of course that's going to add a little bit more liquid to the mix. I was thinking about putting 2 cans of tomatoes in there, but now that I see I'm preparing for 6, I'm just going to go with 1 can, and that is about a 14 1/2 ounce can of diced tomatoes. I'm going to put a little onion in there as well. Now this is Spanish rice, and one of the key ingredients that we need in Spanish rice, or especially when this is really more of a Mexican style rice, but even in the Spanish you use cumin, and we're going to put some cumin in there. Cumin is a seed, and we don't want to put the whole seed in. We want ground cumin seed, and that's exactly what this is. And I would suggest that when you pour cumin, just like as if you were pouring any other spice, nutmeg or allspice or whatever, that you put it in your hand first and sprinkle it in. But we're going to use a good teaspoon, maybe a little more. You can't hardly overdo it with cumin. Yeah, okay, just a little bit more, sure. So we've got some cumin in there. We're going to put a little garlic in there as well. I've lost my little towel here. Okay, we're going to add a little garlic to it, and we're going to add a little salt and pepper as well. And I think we'll be done with that rice. We're going to bring it to a boil, and then we'll add our rice to it, and then we'll just forget about it. I would say maybe a teaspoon or a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. A little bit of salt, maybe, oh yeah, that much. And we'll put some black pepper in there as well. And just do this to taste. Really, this is just up to you. If I was cooking for my mom and dad, who are in their mid-70s, I'd go very light on these ingredients. Red pepper, this is one you might want to go light on, but then again, you might be daring, and you might want to go 1/4 teaspoon, or you might want to go a little more if you feel adventurous. But that's it. That's basically what we're going to do to our water. We're going to stir that up, and we're going to let that come to a good rolling boil. And once that occurs, we're going to go ahead and put in our Uncle Ben's converted rice. We'll put the lid on, turn it down low, and forget about it, because that will just sit there and cook nicely. And hopefully that's enough tomato. It doesn't quite look like enough. I'm going to add a little more. I'm going to add another 1/2 can to it, just to be that way. All right. There you go. the beginnings of Spanish rice. Let's let that come to a boil. And while that's boiling, we can talk about Mexican cooking for just a moment. One of the key ingredients, I think, to Mexican cooking is cilantro. Now, cilantro is actually, a lot of folks call it Mexican parsley, and it looks like this. In the store, it looks a little different than parsley, but you'll find it in the same area that you'll find the parsley. Now, these leaves, when you take your cilantro and you're preparing it for a dish, some people use a grinder, and they'll put the whole leaf and stem in. You see there's just a little bit of leaf at the top, and sometimes you'll find a piece with more, but normally it's that long stalk or stem. You can chop up all that stem if you like, but I would prefer to pluck the tops, pluck the leaves, and then chop the leaves. You can do that with scissors, you can do that with a knife, you can do that with a little chopper as well. But if you're in a hurry, you can chop up those stems, and that would be just fine. But I just as soon leave all that out of it. Now, we're going to be making some refried beans as well, and you're saying to yourself, why make refried beans from scratch? You can just go to the store and buy a can full of them. Plop them in the pan, and there you go. Well, you'll save a little money this way, and you can add your own signature to the refried beans. And I'm kind of getting those started now. Let me show you what I'm doing. I started with a couple of cans of just pinto beans, just plain old pinto beans. Now, I thought it might be fun today that in addition to my 2 cans of pinto beans, if I added a little bit of black beans, this might make a little bit darker. Frijoles negros is what these are called. The Cuban people use frijoles negros, which means black beans, quite a bit. And I've noticed that at some of the Mexican restaurants I eat at, their refried beans seem to be a little bit darker and richer. And I think, now this is just a hunch, but by adding some black beans to my pinto beans, and let's say you don't have pinto beans in the cupboard and you don't have black beans, pull out anything you have. Navy beans, great northern beans, whatever you can find, you can probably make refries out of them. Just consider refries mashed potatoes. And what you do with mashed potatoes, when you prepare mashed potatoes, well, you boil some potatoes. And then you mash them, and you add a little milk and a little butter and a little salt and pepper, and voila. That's basically what we're going to do to those refried beans as we go along here. So we'll be coming back, and when we do, we are going to add our rice to our mixture. And we are going to take our beans and mash them up and spice them just right and continue on with our enchilada meal. In fact, we'll be doing the cheese enchiladas when we come back. Keep it right. Welcome back. We're preparing a wonderful, easy Mexican meal that you can do at home if friends are coming over, or if you just need a meal for 2 at night, or if you've got a family of 6 like I do. I've just added my rice. I'm using Uncle Ben's converted rice in my Spanish rice. I brought it to a rolling boil, and then I added my rice. I'm going to put the lid on. I've turned it down to low. And I'm going to forget about that rice, and hopefully that's going to be just right when my enchiladas come up. Let's do enchiladas. Enchiladas, you can either use corn tortillas or flour tortillas. We're going to do a more traditional flour tortilla today. And what's the best kind of corn tortilla to buy, you ask? Well, this is not a show that we're going to try to push different products on you, but I will tell you this. These are Rodriguez tortillas. And if I'm doing Mexican food, I want it to say Rodriguez or Pedro. I don't want it to say Jim. You know, I want it to be something that sounds like it's maybe from that country. I've got oil cooking here, and I don't care what kind of oil you use. This is just a vegetable oil. Any kind of cooking oil will do. I know that a lot of Mexican chefs use lard, but we're using a vegetable oil, and I have it on pretty warm. I also have my enchilada sauce that you can buy over the counter in the store, and you can buy it in mild or hot, however you like. I chose mild because, well, we'll just go mild today. I'm pretending my folks are coming over too. I'm going to take this corn tortilla, and I have my tongs handy because this is a very quick process. I'm just going to slide it in there. That's not hot enough. We're going to go a little hotter on this. That'll work, but that's not hot enough. We want it to really be hot and blister up quickly. We don't want it to soak up too much of that oil like it is now. Also, you know what? I need some room over here with paper towels. That'll help me a lot. That's not quite hot enough. In fact, I'm going to use a spatula on that. Now, if we cook these too long, what's going to happen is they're going to fall apart when we start rolling them. Also, some people like to take their corn tortillas and go right into their red sauce with them. The process is into the oil, let it blister up, flip it over very quickly, and then get it out of there quickly, and then pop it in your red sauce. I don't like to pop it right into the red sauce because then my red sauce, my enchilada sauce, gets too greasy. I'm going to use that later as topping for my enchiladas when I'm all done, and I don't want all that oil added to it. So I'm going to do these one at a time and actually just drain them off a little bit, take them over here on the paper, And I'm going to do, I wish my oil was a little bit hotter. We're going to try to get that a little bit hotter there. And these will just blister up real quick, flip them, blister up again, boom, get them out of there. Mainly, you just don't want them in there too long. These are actually going to work out fine just like this, but I'd rather have that a little bit hotter. If you cook these too long, once again, they will fall apart on you. Now, enchiladas are a dish that you can make ahead of time. You can make it the day before, pop it in the refrigerator or the freezer, and then bake it up the next day. So these are a nice item to have if you have some folks coming over on a Friday night and you're working on a Friday and you're not getting home till 5:30. Well, make these up the night before and you'll have good luck with them. The only problem I have sometimes with the refrigerating or freezing enchiladas is that has a tendency to make the tortilla shells soft as well, and they'll fall apart on you sometimes. You notice in Mexican restaurants, a lot of times they'll bring you the plate, and they'll say, "Don't touch it because it's hot, very hot. It's a hot plate." What are you saying? That was a Chinese restaurant. They were saying, "Don't touch, very hot," kind of like that. Well, the reason being, enchiladas, see now we got a little bit more heat going here. Enchiladas actually are better prepared, baked, in the plate that they're going to be served on. Because what happens is, when you try to remove them from the casserole dish that we're going to place them in and put them on the plate, lots of times you tear them up. So hopefully we won't do that, though. We're going to try not to. All right, that's enough for our demonstration purposes now. We're going to go ahead and take these 6 enchiladas and see if we can't do some damage here. We're going to take our enchiladas that hopefully have our shells there, that hopefully have been sitting, and actually you can dry these even more, but we're not going to worry about it because we're on a time budget here. All right, I'm going to take these enchiladas and we're going to put some filling in them. You can fill them with chicken, you can fill them with beef, you can fill them with whatever you want. We're just going to make traditional cheese enchiladas. We're going to put a little cheese in the center. Whoops, hello, we forgot to do it in the red sauce, didn't we? I need to take each one of these and pop them in red sauce. As a matter of fact, we can do it this way. I'll pop it in the red sauce, flip it over one time because I want it completely coated. There we go. And that's a nice right there. I'm going to put it right in the middle, and I can work right here on this. I'll pop my cheese in the center. How much cheese, you ask? Live a little. Have some fun. Put some onion in there. Just a little bit. Okay, a lot. A little cilantro. In fact, you can take your cilantro and your onions and just mix them all together and then just put your ingredients in like that. You can even mix it up with your cheese. Then just kind of tuck and roll. Leave the folded side down, and you'll be better off. I'm going to get some napkins here because this gets a little messy. All right. Now, number 2. We'll just do a couple of these, and off camera I'll do a few more for you. We're going to pop it here in our casserole dish. We're going to add a little cheese to it. And remember, you could add chicken in there, you could add beef, you could put sour cream in there if you like. Some people really like that. And you can do it with a flour tortilla too. It's very good with a flour tortilla, and just use all white cheeses. I'm actually using a little bit of Longhorn and a little bit of Monterey Jack. Boy, I overdid it on the cilantro on that one, but then again, I like cilantro. But I would caution you, if you're using cilantro, or that Mexican parsley that we were talking about, be careful with it because, you know, a lot of people don't like cilantro. They really don't. I do. I just love it. I mean, I could put it on everything. But a lot of folks don't like cilantro, so you might want to start out with it and be a little bit, use it sparingly. Let's put it that way. Me, today, I'm cooking for the guys here in the studio. I'll just do it my way. So that's, I wouldn't consider that sparingly, but there you go. This is what our enchiladas look like now that they're prepared. Basically, this is the idea. They look like this. And as you can see, I've been working in here. This is my work area. Of course, I'll clean this up before I bake it, but I'm actually going to bake them in these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish rolling these, and I'm going to put sauce on top, and then I'm going to garnish it with scallions or green onions, whatever you can find, and I might sprinkle a little cilantro on there too, just for color. But that should make a nice enchilada. I'm going to go ahead and finish this dish while we're going here, and until we run out of time, and go ahead and keep making some enchiladas. It's a fun process. I don't know if you've noticed this, but as I'm cooking here, you probably noticed most of my handles are turned in. If you're cooking with kids, and I encourage you to do it, we have 4 children, and we cook with our kids all the time. If you're cooking with kids especially, but even adults have a problem with this, you have a tendency to bump handles. And I always tell my kids the story about this wonderful man I used to go watch cook in South Miami, Florida, and he was cooking a big, big pot of split pea soup, and boy was it hot. And he had that handle turned out, And when he went to bend down to pick up something, he caught the handle, and it went on his back. And that was not a pretty sight. So I would suggest you keep your handles turned in and your knives turned down. That's some good advice, some good basic cooking advice. This will be our last one that we make, and then when we go to break and come back, we're going to finish up by putting together our refried beans from scratch. Once again, you fill it with cheese, a little bit of onion, but then again, you can put in whatever you like, a little bit of cilantro, and you're living. Roll them, cover them with the sauce, add some green onions for garnish, and man, some cheese, you are living. We'll be right back. Hi, welcome back. As you can see, I took the enchiladas. I finished actually rolling a couple more, and I've covered them in enchilada sauce. Now, there was plenty of enchilada sauce on the bottom. Because I was assembling my enchiladas inside this baking dish, that helped give a little bit of coating to the bottom. And then on top, I added the sauce, I added my shredded cheese, and I added some green onion, and there you go, uncovered. I'm going to go ahead and pop this into the oven now, and these will be our enchiladas. And there you go. And once again, you can add whatever you want to those. You can add, like I said, chicken or beef. Do whatever you want. Feel free. Now, let's do these refried beans. You can buy refried beans in the store. You can beat the price if you do it yourself, and I think you can have more fun. We've added a couple of cans of pinto beans. We've added 1 can of frijoles negros, and we're going to drain those because we don't want all that water. Just like you would if you were doing mashed potatoes. You wouldn't want all that water if you're going to make mashed potatoes. So we're going to go ahead and drain those beans, and then I'm going to bring them back over here into a bowl for mashing. And what I need, I'll tell you what I really need, is one of those nice mashers like most chefs have. But you know, you and me at home, we don't have all that stuff, so I'm just using a big old fork, and I'm trying to cut through these things, and I'm going to mash, mash, mash. Now, right now we just have 2 cans of pinto beans, and we have 1 can of frijoles negros, which is black beans. Now, I've never done this with black beans. I thought it'd be kind of a nice trick here, and maybe the guys and the gals in the studio will enjoy it. I'm going to keep mashing and keep mashing, and at some point, I'm going to go ahead and add some spices to this. Just as you would mashed potatoes, you'd add a little bit of butter. Now, a lot of the Mexican families prefer to use lard. Lard is very flavorful. So I'm using something that's a little less fattening, and it's one of those, I can't believe it's not the real deal kind of a thing. And I put a little butter in there, and that's going to give me a little wetness that I need. I'm going to put just a little bit of milk in there, just like I would with mashed potatoes. Boy, that's not pouring out very well. And we may add a little as we go. Make these the consistency that you like mashed potatoes. Think mashed potatoes. Now, these are going to be pretty bland like this, so we need to add a little black pepper. About that much. A little garlic powder would be nice. We're talking maybe half a teaspoon here at the most. Salt. This is a good time to use your cumin again, because cumin is very nice in this. Some folks, that's almost a teaspoon right there. I could probably, yeah, I could get away with a little more. I like cumin. That makes it Mexican, you know. Red pepper, sure, you can put a little in there. A lot of folks put cilantro in their beans. A lot of folks put cilantro in their salad. Lots of folks put cilantro in their guacamole. But you know, if you keep putting all the same ingredients in every dish on the plate, it's all going to taste exactly the same. So at some point, you have to back off of one and add something different to the next and try to make it different. Because I know that you've probably been to a lot of restaurants when you sit down and you eat Mexican food, and boy, every dish tastes exactly the same. Hopefully, we've changed it up a little bit. In our Spanish rice, we've added tomato, and we've added green pepper. That's our big difference there. In these beans here, I think the big difference is just going to be the flavor of the black beans that are going to add to it, and just the fact that you're tasting some homemade refries. You can do these with regular beans, too, dried beans, and, of course, clean off and separate your beans and soak them in water and then boil them for a long time till they're nice and soft, and you can really start from scratch. We're starting with actually canned beans here. But see how nice that's getting? It really is just like making mashed potatoes. It's the same thing. I haven't tried using a beater on this, but I'm sure a beater would be quite nice to actually fluff these up. You can get as fluffy as you want on these things. And if you'll notice, since there is no lard in there, there's just a little bit of that, I can't believe it's almost Fabio's butter or whatever. Fabio's the spokesman for one of those things. And it's going to save us some calories. This is a very high protein, high fiber dish right here. And if you don't muck it up with a bunch of oil and a bunch of butter and a bunch of lard, then you'll have a nice dish. I could sit here and whip these all day, but we don't have all day, and neither do you. So we're going to stop at some point and say, hey, if it's a little chunky, it's a little chunky. We're going to take our beans. I should use a spatula for this. And we'll put our beans in a little casserole dish. I think that's going to make them attractive. The problem with refries to me, especially when you buy them in the store out of the can, is they don't look that attractive, if you know what I mean. They just kind of come out of the can and bloop. Kind of like, well, reminds me of feeding my old dog Sam. And back when kennel ration was popular. It's just not an attractive dish. But I think you can make it more attractive if you'll put it into a baking dish. And this one's probably a little too big for the job, but we'll use it. And if you'll set it in that baking dish, make it kind of even out in there. You can garnish it any way you like, but let's lay off the onions and the cilantro and all that stuff. We've already got cumin and garlic in there and salt and pepper and a little red pepper. And we've got enough action happening, plus we have the great flavor of these wonderful beans happening. So why don't we just leave them alone? Put a little cheese on there, though, because that always makes it look good. And you know what? If you make these bland, I've got 4 children at home, and they're all, some are picky and some aren't, and some like this and some like that. But I found that little kids love refried beans. They're easy to eat. They're similar to mashed potatoes, and they really make a wonderful dish. We're just going to clean up this casserole dish just a little bit here. And you know what we can do with that? We can pop that in there with our enchiladas and just forget about it. In fact, our enchiladas are almost done. And we're going to sit down and have a nice meal here in just a second. We'll be enjoying it. Our enchiladas are in there baking right now. Our rice, hopefully, is getting where it needs to be. I'm almost afraid to look, because by rice, yeah, it's working. See how our rice is looking? See how the tomatoes and the green peppers and the onion have actually separated to the top? I don't know if you can see that. Now, as we bring this out and fluff it up, and it's not quite ready yet, we'll actually fluff that up and mix it all together real good. And you might need to add additional salt and pepper to it, but you know, you've already added some. You can leave that up to your guests. I think it's time for me to show you some stuff, isn't it? Well, hopefully that cheese has melted on our enchiladas, and hopefully it's melted on our refries, and I'll be able to show you some dishes here. Let me see if I can grab these out of here for you. I'm going to leave the refries in just a moment longer, but I can show you the enchiladas. I think they're ready. I really do. They don't need to cook long. In fact, all they need is for the cheese to melt. Now, you can go a little longer if you like, but you really don't need to. We're going to let my refries sit in there and melt a little bit. But here are enchiladas, and that's how you'd serve them. I would serve them just like that. I would not try to pull them out with a spatula, especially while they're this hot, and serve them plate to plate and then go ahead and hand the plates out, because you stand a good chance of tearing up a really good-looking dish. I would serve it this way, and they can say, ooh and ah, and the presentation is nice. That's a very inexpensive dish, by the way. I mean, we have some shredded cheese in there. We have a little cilantro. We have some corn tortillas. We have some enchilada sauce, and that's it. And we use some oil to cook it with, so that's a very inexpensive dish. Calories? Yeah, you got some calories because you've got some cheese and some oil. But we're going to make up for it by serving a little salad on the side, and we're also going to be serving those refries that are low in fat, high in fiber, and high in protein. And of course, we'll serve some rice with some good veggies in there as well. Let's take a look at the refries real quick. I know what we can do while we're waiting for that. Let's go ahead and fluff up our rice a little bit. Say, that's looking pretty good. It's still a little wet. I'll let it go a little longer, but you see there's a lot of nice color to it. I was right about those tomatoes. I would have had not enough, and I could have still used that second can. But you know, that's not bad right there. It's colorful, and it's festive, and it looks right. There's our rice. Let me bring out our refries real quick. Hopefully our cheese has melted, and it's almost melted. We can at least take a look at it, and there you go. And that's our little Mexican fiesta. Enjoy.